They're off. Brenda Boy just misses it along with Barnaby. They have catching up to do. Strike Smart and Neo Star match strides, but only briefly, as Neo Star now goes on from Strike Smart as they leave the 7. Rainsville races up next. Sister and Treasure is racing toward the outside as they dash away now toward the final 6 furlongs. Barnaby has made good progress with Mark My Identity, and Brenda Boy remains at the back of the field. They run past the 6 and head toward the 5. Neo Star guides them along by a length and a tail. Strike Smart settled down in second. Rainsville is right in behind them, looking to have a lot in hand. Mark My Identity is racing back in fourth, 5 off that lead, about to be joined by Barnaby. Brenda Boy races up toward the back of the field with Sister and Treasure. They share last. They arrive at the half mile and go spinning into that turn, and it is Neo Star on the inside. Strike Smart continues to attack as they leave the 7/16th, and now Neo Star kicks away from Strike Smart. Rainsville is asked to go. Mark My Identity and Barnaby both need to find maybe 6 lengths to get to those leaders. 2 lengths back to Sister and Treasure, and the ridden Brenda Boy needs help as they're about to come into the top of the lane in the Lloyd Lindbergh Linda Della Penna OD Memorial Trophy. They're into it now, a quarter of a mile. They've got to catch Neo Star, and the rider now becomes a busy person as they drive toward the furlong pole. It is Neo Star out in front. Neo Star with that lead. There is a Barnaby down against the rail now, beginning to come with a run. Neo Star out in front on the Javanil Patterson. Barnaby sprouting wings on the rail. Barnaby will win it over Neo Star. Rainsville is third. Mark My Identity is fourth. First start, Bulletproof Coffee just toward the back with Atlantic Convoy. California Crown breezes through, gets that lead quickly. Zulu Warrior racing on the outside. There goes Fortuna Bell in pursuit of the leader, California Crown, as they arrive at the half mile. California Crown by just over a length. Fortuna Bell racing back in second. Zulu Warrior is 3 lengths back and running in third. They lead the 7/16th. Huntsman is a further 2 lengths back, right there on the rail. That's Strike Smart as they go flashing past the 3. Teflon Don now beginning to make ground toward the outside. Cookie Day and Night. Bulletproof Coffee is asked to close up. Strike Smart has faded. Atlantic Convoy at the back, but out in front and traveling strongly, that's California Crown with that lead. Here now is a Cookie a Day, rather Fortuna Bell kicking in on the outside. California Crown. Fortuna Bell needs to find 2 lengths. Zulu Warrior now coming with a rush down against the rail, but it is California Crown driven to the max inside the final 16th. Zulu Warrior running best of the rest. California Crown and Robert Hallidine will win the Kaz Hoshay Trophy by almost 2 lengths over Zulu Warrior. Then Cookie Day and Night. Fortuna Bell is back in fourth. Field in line and sent off for the third running of the Will in Charge Trophy. Interesting times ahead. Took off quickly. Brenda Boy races next. Provident toward the outside. Shooting Star gaining momentum down near the rail, and Shooting Star will now come through to take a narrow lead. It's Shooting Star. Interesting times ahead. They bob heads together and alternate on the front end. They leave the 6. Divine Force races next in third. Rainsville the Grey in fourth. Possibly 4.5 lengths separates them. A break back to Brenda Boy racing just on the outside. Mark My Identity and Crown Chaser team up next. A break back to Provident, and Captain Sparrow will have to run late as usual. On the approach to the half mile, they're almost there, about to go into the turn. Interesting times ahead. Trying to make all the running. Rainsville now cutting into that lead. There goes Divine Force kicking in on the outside. Shooting Star needs to find 5 or more. Mark My Identity races up next. Brenda Boy now unleashed and asked to close. Crown Chaser toward the back. A length in behind, that's Provident. Forget Captain Sparrow at the moment as they're coming past the 5/16th, about to get into the lane. And it is interesting times ahead. And Anthony Allen who dictate terms at the top of the lane. Interesting times ahead. Trying to slip away from this field. Mark My Identity now unleashed, put to the left-hand stick, and now asked to come forward on the outside. Interesting times ahead. The rider wailing away with the left-hand stick. Mark My Identity eating into the lead, but still interesting times ahead. Continues to hang tough from Mark My Identity. Here is Brenda Boy closing. Interesting times ahead. Hanging tough. They keep on knocking, but they can't come in. Interesting times beats them. Brenda Boy in a photo with Mark My Identity, then Captain Sparrow and Providence.
Now they're off on racing. Missing it, that's Inspire Force and Gervano, as mixing up on top, that's Pack Plays on the outside. Right there too, that's Digital One. Offer Revolution is right tucked in against the inside. Then comes a Supremacy racing beside that one. About a length and a half before we come to Gervano. Now has to move and racing at the back of the field. Interesting times ahead. Pack Plays not messing around. About 2 or 3 lengths in front of Digital One tracking. Right there too, that's Supremacy going down into it. Tucked in against the rail. That's Offer Revolution. Gervano is just beside him. And another 3 or 4 before we come to interesting times ahead. They're past the 3, and it's still Pack Plays on that lead. More than 2 lengths in front of a Revolution now coming down into it. Right there too, that's Digital One. Watching them on the inside and coming on to that is Gervano, but it is still Pack Plays in front. Pack Plays keeping them at bay. It's Pack Plays on top. Of a Revolution needs to do more. Pack Plays. Here comes of a Revolution right up against the rail coming on to that Digital One. Supremacy. Pack Plays is brave on that lead, and Pack Brave will land the Eileen Cliggott Memorial. Pack Play beats of a Revolution. Digital One looks like coming on for 4th. That's interesting times ahead.
They're off for the Miracle Man Cup. Get a Pepsi just a shade slowly out with interesting times ahead at the back. As they make their way toward the 6, and Mamma Mia, as expected, goes for that lead. Atlantic Convoy, Gervano out wide in the red cap. Digital One and Wall Street Trader team up in behind. Over Revolution races on the outside of Get a Pepsi. Is that a fact? Second from the back, and interesting times ahead yet to recover. They've left the 5/8 and run toward the half mile, and out in front, Mamma Mia continues to skitter on with a 4-length lead almost. Atlantic Convoy chasing with Gervano. A Digital One on the inside, Wall Street Trader in the red house to go down. Our Revolution now needs to do some more running. A break back to Get a Pepsi, and is that a fact? They're tied together in a knot. And last of all, interesting times ahead being ridden but going nowhere at the moment. They make their way toward the 5/16. Can they catch Mamma Mia? Gervano now let loose. So to Wall Street, a Trader. Digital One is on the rail. Of a Revolution and Radish Roman will take the widest route into the lane, but they're at the top of it. A 1/4 mile to run. And Mamma Mia, here is Gervano kicking in, and Gervano points. Watch Digital One down against the rail. Of a Revolution is widest of them all, and now beginning to bubble to the board. It's Of a Revolution and a Gervano matching strides. Gervano and Of a Revolution continue. Of a Revolution, Gervano fighting him off. Gervano and Robert Halidine holding the lead. This is the Miracle Man Cup, and Gervano beats Of a Revolution. Is that a fact? Is 3rd. Mamma Mia 4th. Wall Street Trader is 5th.
Sure, the light goes in. 9 furlongs and 25 yards. They're off and racing. Positive ID misses it and races at the back of the field as rushing through, that's Brenda Boy. Also there, that's Mr. Lee. So Mr. Lee and Brenda Boy mixing it up front, right? And cutting the corner, that's Wicked Cassie. Out wide, that's Provident. And also there, that's Pretty Perfect. Just behind a Pretty Perfect, then comes Sistine Treasure. Gap before we come to Sheer Delight racing back there. Pretty Perfect is right there too, and racing at the back of the field, that's Wizkid and Captain Sparrow. They come toward over on the backstretch, and Mr. Lee mixing it up with Provident. These two sharing that lead. Watching them from 3rd, that's Oil Machine. Then come the Wicked Cassie. Pretty Shooting Star is right there too. Overtaken now by Brenda Boy on the move. Sheer Delight is also making progress. Sister Trevor is right there to another 3 lengths before we come to Pretty Perfect. Another 6 before we come to Captain Sparrow racing back there along with Positive ID and Wizkid racing at the back of the field. They go past the 4 and head toward the 3, and it is on that lead and traveling well. Provident in front of on the outside. That's Oil Machine. Provident and Oil Machine sharing it. Brenda Boy begins to make progress. Also coming on, that's Wicked Cassie. They're coming at the top of the lane, and the war continues. Oil Machine and Brenda Boy and Provident. Brenda Boy trying to join the fray too, but it's still Oil Machine. Provident is fighting on. Provident and Oil Machine. It's still Provident now hits the front. Oil Machine not going anywhere. Here comes Wicked Cassie winding up and also coming on. That is Captain Sparrow, but it is still on that lead. Provident. Here comes the Brenda Boy also. It's a good looking finish. Provident keeping them at bay in the SBRL Fan Appreciation Trophy. Providence beat Brenda Boy. Then comes Wicked Cassie, Oil Machine, and Captain Sparrow back in fifth.